Hello and welcome to another exciting, fun, historic, authentic, iconic episode of Tutor I Hardly Know Her.
Iconic is appropriate.
Historic,
I've kind of been making this whole thing up.
This is actually, there is no such thing as the Tudors.
This is fanfic.
This is the best fan fiction.
Joke's on you guys. You've been listening to fanfic the whole time.
You know what? God, that gives me a really good idea. Let's introduce ourselves. Hi, my name's Garrett.
Hi, my name's Emily.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey.
And we're the Tudor Bunch. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Here's a story of a guy named Henry.
Okay, I want to see fan art of that.
6 wives of his own.
Actually, they would work really well because you have him in the center and the 3 wives on each side.
Yeah.
And then have...
Yeah, but it's all their
Wolsey,
heads
Wolsey
decapitated.
and Cromwell.
Yeah.
Guys, this is a good one.
And then Alice. She's got to be there.
Okay.
Just Alice.
Okay, just Cromwell and Alice, no Wolsey.
Okay. The idea I had, I want people to start sending us completely fake facts about the Tudors.
Oh, I
But
love
make them
those.
sound as real as possible. Make them sound as scholarly as you can.
Like Henry invented...
Dubstep. Yeah, why not? But tell us the why and how.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a stupid idea. Anyway,
no.
Hi, welcome to Tutor I Hardly Know Her. We're going to talk to you about some tutoring today.
No. It's just all crazy bullshit Henry facts. Henry invented
God, I love
dubstep.
it.
That's your fun fact for the day.
What was the name of that weird instrument?
The hurdy-gurdy.
Yeah, he invented that.
He invented the hurdy-gurdy.
Just tell us weird shit that Henry definitely didn't invent, but tell us he did anyway.
How about we make the whole episode 2 truths and a lie? Where
Oh, God, I love that game.
I tell you 2 things that are true and 1 thing that's a lie, and you have to guess what the lie is.
I fucking... There's another podcast I listen to that used to do that as like a little game every once in a while, and I love that game so much. Let's do it.
I can make that happen.
I already got something that Henry invented.
Tell me.
He invented the game Kill, Fuck, Marry.
That's really good.
That's the truth.
No scholar will dispute you on that one.
None of them. Okay, but fuck, Mary,
They'll think
kill.
about it for a second, then be like, no, he's right.
Okay, but fuck, Mary, kill Henry, Edward the 6th, and Henry the 7th.
I'd kill Henry VIII before he could kill me.
No. I'd fuck Henry the 8th because he didn't murder his. Well, never mind. I'd fuck.
Evelyn.
I'd fuck Henry the 8th, marry Henry the 7th, and murder Edward the 6th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for
All right.
that.
Because, I mean, he used to be hot. He didn't go crazy until 1536. So if I get to bang 1535, Henry, we're all good.
Yeah, but if he bangs you, you don't give him a kid, then you're pretty much done.
If I give him a boy, we're set.
Yeah, his track record with that was pretty good, right?
Right. Perfect.
Anyway, let's keep this on track before my computer decides to start roaring at me again. What
Garrett-
are we doing today?
Wait, tell me how you fixed your computer.
So, I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to record today because I turned my computer on and like the fan just started making this like noise.
Became
like
Fran
nonstop.
Drescher?
Oh, Mr. Sheffield. Anyway, so it kept making that Fran Drescher noise nonstop, and I was panicking. I was like, Emily, I got to take this apart. I got to figure out what the hell's going on. My roommate walked in, and I said, David, please tell me how to fix this because he's a computer guy, and he just kind of smacks the fan a couple times. He's like, I'll stop doing it eventually. so I like let it go, and it didn't stop. And I was like, oh God, what are we gonna do? Maybe we'll just have to do it with the noise. I don't want to let all the Tudor kids down. And so I just gave it one last smack in the fan, and then it quieted down. It shut up.
Beat it into submission. Good job, Garrett. Glad we can record today.
So if you guys need any computer repairs, just let me know, and I'll Fonz my way out of that situation. Hey, I earned my leather jacket today.
Yeah, you did. Ayy.
Anyway, Emily, Who are we talking about? What are we talking about? What are we doing?
Today we're going to talk about Thomas Wolsey, that is.
I was going to say, I feel like we've talked about several Thomases.
We have talked about several Thomases. Today we're talking about Thomas Wolsey, who was Sam Neill.
So there's got to be more to him than that. Like, our point of reference for Wolsey is that he was played by Sam Neill, a.k.a. Mr. Dinosaur Guy from Jurassic Park.
Dr. Alan Grant.
Merlin?
I forgot his name.
What?
It's like the most obscure thing I always remember
He's
him
in
from.
Merlin?
He was in a TV movie, Merlin.
Oh, TV movie. I thought you were talking
That's
about the
right,
show.
yeah.
It had Martin Short in it.
Oh, why are we not watching that tonight?
We have watched
Yeah,
it. You
that
just don't
sounds like
remember
something right up Emily's alley. How have you not seen that?
Apparently we have, and I just erased it from my memory.
It was too good. I want to forget about it so I can watch it again. So, Sam Neill, a.k.a. Dr. Alan Grant, a.k.a. Merlin, a.k.a.
Dr. Wolsey. We're going to call him...
a.k.a. The guy from Event Horizon that says, where we are going, we won't need eyes to see, or something like that.
Oh
No,
my
that was a
God.
bit of Back to the Future. I fucked that up. Anyway, tell us about Cardinal Wolsey.
Okay, so a lot of people know Thomas Wolsey's name. He was Henry's second BFF for a little bit until he went kaput. He rose to prominence through the church, but he was actually born to a poor man. During his time in power, a lot of people thought he was a butcher's son, and a lot of sources say he was a butcher's son, but I guess during that time they weren't 100% sure. But it was confirmed he was a quote-unquote poor man's son, which in the days of Henry VIII was not quite cool because being noble meant basically that you were, the cream of the crop, the cool people in court. You were the clickiest of cliques. You were the mean girls if you were rich. So this mofo got a Bachelor of Arts degree when he was 15 years old, so now I feel put to shame. And I'm pretty sure to earn a Bachelor of Arts, you needed to become a priest, you needed to know Latin, so I could only, quote what's it called when you purge a devil from someone? Exorcism. I could only probably quote an exorcism in Latin from Supernatural.
I mean, that's impressive to go and actually get an education and excel yourself like that from such a low class, because usually I figured people back then kind of just stayed to the class they were raised in.
No, but we talked about this a little bit. Garrett had asked us if anybody could be educated in the church, and they could, pretty much. Sorry.
I mean, if you're willing to swear your life to it, I'm sure they'll be happy to.
It wasn't so much that he rose up in prominence in the church, because that was doable. It was that he rose up in prominence in the court, which was the big scandal.
Sure.
So in 1498, when he was about 25, he was ordained as a priest. And so his roles in the church was he was the master of Magdalen College School. Then he was the dean of divinity, which sounds like such a bullshit name.
These sound like wrestling titles, like the magistrate of the school.
I mean, that sounded like
the
something from
dean
Harry
of
Potter.
I forgot all the words you said.
You want to know what dean of divinity made me think
The
of?
dean of divinity.
I started thinking of Community.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
Ring-a-ding-ding. He was also the chaplain of the Archbishop of Canterbury in 1502.
The dean of divinity.
Hold on,
the chaplain of Canterbury.
I got a really fun name for you. So after that Archbishop of Canterbury died, Wolsey went and served as an executor of the estate for Richard Nanfan.
Nanfan?
Nanfan.
That's a sad name to have.
It really is.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
My name is Dick Nanfan.
It also sounds like a very sad lawyer in today's age.
Hi, I'm Dick Nanfan.
You injured in an auto accident? Call Dick Nanfan and Sons, and we can help.
Have you been injured and you're still trying to get your money? Richard Nanfan can help.
Wait, is this a Rick and Morty joke?
Yeah, a little bit.
Sounds like it.
We're doing the voice.
Okay, so then after that, in 1507, he entered the service of Henry VIII as his chaplain. I'm probably pronouncing that word wrong.
Is it chaplain or chaplain?
I think it's the same thing.
When this episode comes out, everyone please yell at us and tell us what we're saying.
But just yell at us. Don't type it to us.
Yeah.
Use your combined voices.
We'll hear you.
200 of you.
What was his age probably around the time he started serving Henry?
Well, Henry VII, it was 1507, so he was 35-ish. 30.
Oh, so he was actually fairly older when he started.
Like 34. I mean, oldish.
I mean,
he
for
earned his
back
Bachelor
then.
of Arts at 8. Jeff, we're almost 30, and what have we done in our life? I can tell you I've not
We have
become
a
the dean of...
podcast, Emily.
I haven't become the dean of divinity. Yeah, this podcast, that's
In all fairness,
essentially-
Emily, that sounds like a made-up title. You can give yourself a bullshit title.
Okay, well, what's my bullshit title?
The Tutor of Tutors.
No, you can't call me that. That's another person on Facebook. She already has it done. She's got a book with that name.
The Teacher of Tutors.
Yeah, okay.
No. You can be the Tutor of Tutors, but yours is with a Z, because you're for like a younger, hipper crowd.
The cool kids.
Okay.
Also, you dress like Poochie.
Who do I dress like?
Like Poochie from The Simpsons.
I got it.
I didn't hear you first. Thanks. I appreciate this. Anyway, so part of Henry VII's court was that he didn't really trust the nobility because the entire generations before him had just spent time stabbing each other in the back because they were all of royal blood. And Henry VII didn't want to give anybody else with a claim the chance to do that. So he didn't favor the noble. He actually really liked people from quote-unquote humble backgrounds, just to kind of keep the nobility at bay. So he was totally cool with taking on people like Wolsey into his administration. And it helped that he was really willing to take on tedious tasks. So probably like sewing Henry's buttons back onto his coat. I'm just kidding. He didn't do that. Or am I kidding?
Bum, bum, bum.
Which one's the truth and which one's the lie? He was really intelligent. He had really great administrative ability, so I guess he would have been a bomb-ass secretary.
I was about to say, I mean, you'd think he would be just with how much he achieved.
He was industrious, and he had an ambition for power.
I don't believe that last one.
Probably not at all. I don't think it's true. It's
What?
just a
People
smear
back then?
campaign.
Yeah.
1509, Henry VII croaked, and Henry VIII became king. And Henry VIII was like, hey, I like you still. You're going to be my almoner.
Was he like a
What?
Zazu?
He was Mr. Bean. he was Zazu. So Mr. Bean, imagine Mr. Bean in the red cloak and Cardinals cap.
Already in my head, and I love it.
I'm just now putting together that Rowan Atkinson played Zazu.
For those who don't catch on, Garrett just spelled it out for you.
I just figured that out.
Did you not know that ever?
No, I just saw some stuffy British dude, but it was apparently a great British dude.
It is an amazing British dude.
Pause. Cut this out, future me. It was just announced that John Oliver is going to be playing Zazu in the live-action movie.
Don't cut that out, future Jeff. Keep that in. That's an important part to keep.
But we were talking about sound like this stuck-up,
Yeah.
British voice.
Speaking of stuck up, John Oliver.
No way.
Sounding. He's not actually stuck up.
Okay, side note, John Oliver's not actually stuck up. He's a pretty nice guy. We met him. He's a big fan. Back
Call me John.
to Mr. Bean, the Cardinal. In 1509, Henry VIII, you're imagining that, aren't you?
I just love that image now.
I'm picturing the arms up really high, like he's trying to organize all these wars, and he's just like, you like my Mr. Bean voice?
Yes, it's very lovely. Sammy Davis Jr. over there.
So he became Henry VIII's almoner, which basically put him on the Privy Council. And the Privy Council was...
What is an almoner? What does that do?
They make almonds.
Yes, he was Henry's personal almond maker. Almoner.
Okay.
I'm just distracting her.
The one time I want to know the actual truth.
Hold on, I'm looking it up.
Okay.
That's why.
It's an official. God damn it, dictionary. Do you want to know what an almoner is? It's an official distributor of alms.
Thank you, Internet.
We're so close.
Alms, I think, are it's like free money.
How could I become that?
No, he didn't get it. He gave it.
Oh, screw that. I don't want to be that.
So that put him on the Privy Council, and the Privy Council was basically the group of counselors who advised the king on shit, and then, you know, Henry VIII usually ignored them. It was like, fuck you, I do what I want, unless it has to do with Anne of Cleves, and then I'll fucking marry her. Blah. So he became, in the church, Wolsey became the Dean of Lincoln in 1509, a Canon of Windsor in 1511, and in 1514, he became the Bishop of Lincoln and the Archbishop of York. And the Archbishop of York was the second highest church position in England.
How many titles does this guy go through?
And he kept them all. That's the thing, too.
I was imagining someone has introduced him with all those titles.
Right. So then it gets like crazier. In 1515, he became the Lord Chancellor and a cardinal, and a cardinal is basically a prince of the church. So Wolsey was Henry VIII's lackey, like his BFF, because Henry didn't really like governing in those first few years. He was just like, I just want to be loved. I wrote 1515, became Lord Chancellor and became a cardinal, and then I wrote Wolsey the Animorph. Sunday Emily
and on
was
Henry's book, he turns from a beautiful king into a pig. And he never changes
Sunday
back.
Emily was funny. So Wolsey tried to keep other people from rising to power. He didn't want anybody else to have any sort of sway over the king. So the Duke of Buckingham tried to, or was convicted of trying to kill Henry VIII, and his execution was blamed on Wolsey. They said Wolsey arranged the bullshittiness. And he even prosecuted Henry's friend and former mistress, who is not the same person, but like the friend was banging the former mistress, and not Bessie Blount.
Okay.
It was some other chica. But they were Wolsey prosecuted them for adultery. And then you remember how Charles Brandon married Henry's sister?
Yes.
And Henry was like, what the fuck, man? Bro code. Wolsey was like, I got you, dude. And he tried to befriend him and help him out during that time.
Huh.
I wrote Tudor episode, but it was Mary Tudor episode. Okay. So like I said, Henry VIII wasn't really into governing at first, so he really relied on Wolsey. It was kind of Wolsey's government for a couple years. And Wolsey was super into foreign policy. So like that was his thing he really wanted to be good at, was foreign policy. So he, went to see some TED Talks about it. And then he oversaw a war with France in 1512 that lasted till 1514. He was normally against war, but Henry was all like, I want to be cool. So
you want to be the warrior king.
Yeah, so he oversaw that whole war, and it was kind of crazy and bullshit. But then he ended up negotiating the peace with France that ended with Henry's sister Mary marrying the King of France. And then he died 3 months later, so it was blah. And then in 1518, he was created a papal legate, which is basically the Pope saying, you're my representative, you can make decisions for me, in order to create a peace with the countries. And they tried to do something called the Treaty of London, and I'd not heard of this before. It was a massive summit of 20 nations, and it put England at the forefront of diplomacy. So that was a huge step, because nobody gave a shit about England before unless it was just to fuck them up. So for them to be a key component in this 20 nation peace treaty was a big fucking deal.
They probably weren't planning on them to succeed.
What, the 20 nation? I was actually when I was reading about this in the last day or two or whatever, an author was talking about how like they talked about like this perpetual peace and you know, there'd be a peace forever. And I think the Treaty of London was supposed to be a peace forever, except the author was like, but everybody knew that wasn't going to happen because everybody got ticked off so easily and things changed so quickly. Let's let England do it.
That way if something goes wrong, we can blame it on them.
So they always knew peace was never going to happen. And then, do you guys remember the Field of the Cloth of Gold? That big ass party that was a meeting between King Francis and Henry VIII.
Yeah.
Why are you giggling?
Just remembering it.
Yeah, I remember those days. They were good days.
Oh yes.
Jeff was drinking from one of the many fountains of wine. I mean, it was a huge ass thing. That Field of Cloth of Gold was a big deal, and Wolsey organized that whole thing in 1520. And then when Henry was like, "Hey, I'm done with my wife. Can I please marry Anne?" Wolsey was the one who appealed to the Pope for the annulment. He gave him 3 reasons, and basically Pope was like, "Nah, son." But he did say, "Hey, you can still be my papal legate, and I'm also gonna send a guy named Campeggio." But Campeggio kind of dragged his ass. He took forever to just arrive in England, and then he delayed the proceedings for so long that finally in July of 1529, the case had to be suspended. And the Pope was like, all right, let's just bring it back to Rome. Everybody come to Rome. And, you know, Henry, he was a little bitch. So he whined about it and was pissed at Wolsey. So Henry VIII lost all of his trust in Wolsey. And a lot of people think that Anne Boleyn and her family convinced Henry that Wolsey wasn't really trying and he didn't really care about it and blah, blah, blah. So that same year, he was stripped of his government office and property, and that included Hampton Court, which we talked about last time or a few times ago when Henry was like, yo, I want this. He remained the Archbishop of York, and he was told to travel to Yorkshire, which is the first time in his entire control over that office that he'd actually been there. But then on the way there, he was accused of treason, and Henry's like, okay, turn around. You need to come to London. Probably going to execute you. But luckily, he fell ill and he died in Leicester in November of 1530.
Oh, Leicester.
Leicester. He died in Leicester. Leicester, London, Leicester, England. I don't freaking get it. You guys are missing half.
So
your
there was
letters.
actually a chance of him just being beheaded.
Oh, he totally would have been beheaded. Totes my goats. I
just visualized that like he intentionally just died because like, haha, you don't get the satisfaction.
in the Tudors, they show him committing suicide.
Really?
Yeah, I think that was a rumor going around. No, some historical fiction authors usually like to do that as a fun story, is that he killed himself. Drama, you know.
Drama.
But actually Cromwell, he rose to power under Wolsey. He was his like secretary or some little minion. I don't remember exactly, and this isn't a Cromwell episode, so I don't need to remember exactly. But Cromwell, who then was Henry's most trusted advisor, and like actually Cromwell was the only one Henry ever regretted killing. He defended Wolsey in Parliament. I mean, didn't really matter.
I've had times I've accidentally crossed the two together in my mind, like
Wolsey and Cromwell,
because they're both Thomas, and I just think of people who are advisors to Henry. I just get mixed up a lot.
Don't forget Thomas More.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, they're easy. It's easy to confuse all the Thomases, but I just call them by their last names or by their titles. So do you know how long it took me of reading books to understand that some people, the nobles, would also be referred to as whatever their duke or earldom was? So George Boleyn, he was called just Rochford. I didn't realize that for years. I was so confused, and I'm like, couldn't somebody just put a foreword in the beginning of their book saying, hey, this is what's happening? So for all our readers out there, if you're as dumb as I am, that's what's happening when you're reading those books. So even though Wolsey was a cardinal and a priest and all that shit, he definitely had a mistress.
Ooh.
And her name was not Mary, Anne, or Catherine. It was Joan. It was Joan Lark.
Because he likes things to be strange in the bedroom.
Yeah, he does. And they had 2 children, a boy and a girl. What do you think the boy's name was?
And that was okay. Oh, yeah, that wasn't okay back then.
Edward.
No.
No, okay, yeah.
Come on, guys.
Was it Henry?
No.
Thomas?
Guys, yes.
Oh my God, he gave his kid another Thomas.
So he had a son named Thomas and a daughter. You'll never guess this one. It's Dorothy.
Thomas.
Dorothy. A daughter named Thomas. Tamina. No, it's Dorothy. I didn't even realize that name existed back then.
Dorothy Wolsey.
Dorothy Wolsey. So then he started rising to power, and he was like, this is a bit embarrassing. Everybody ignore my common law wife.
That's what I mean. He's not. Were they allowed to marry?
No.
That's what I thought.
No, but apparently in England at that time, they didn't quite agree with the idea that priests have to be celibate, so they
Really?
just kind of did their own thing. It was like an everybody look the other way
Well, see,
kind
that's
of thing.
fascinating just because we were talking about when we did the crime episode about how people a lot of times didn't do things just out of fear because, especially for someone to be part of the church and to do those kind of things, I figure like for them, like, they would never do it because it's against their beliefs.
Yeah, you'd think so, but it's like that thing I talked about where they're like, they were super religious in practice, and that allowed them to be they were super religious in belief, and that allowed them to be not so religious in practice.
Huh.
Like they went to church all the time, but that also allowed them to get away with having
I'm
mistresses.
so close
and
with
all
God,
that
I
stuff.
can skip a few steps.
Well, almost. It was like, well, God will forgive me anything, basically. So it's okay that I'm a sinner.
Well, at least you only had the one woman, or did he have multiple?
No, just the one mistress.
Well, at least he was nice and kept to
Yeah,
the
I
same
know.
one and had 2 kids with
He
her.
may have been better than Henry.
Yeah.
But he started getting embarrassed of the fact that had happened when he was rising to power because it was still a no-no.
Because was he fairly young when he had the kids, or was it kind of like later but kind of mid-age?
Mid-ish.
Okay.
I don't really remember.
Well, that's fascinating because then isn't like he was even a young person starting
but
out. This
when-
is when he's already kind of in his career.
When he
life.
got embarrassed of her, he was like, okay, well, I got this figured out. And he married her off to somebody else. And he's like, also, here's your money.
Huh.
So he gave her a dowry. He kind of made sure she was married. And his daughter went to become a nun. And then her place was closed by Henry, of course. So that's his personal life. Oh, and he acquired wealth by suppressing monasteries. So he was super rich. And he did suppress some monasteries to get money. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna take that money and that treasure.
I'm gonna need that that bowl real quick.
That thing you have right there, I want it. So he pulled a Henry VIII, and he got really wealthy, which is why he was able to afford places like Hampton. And it was actually it was pretty scandalous because he was a butcher's son or a poor man's son at the very least, and he had wealth rivaling the king's. I mean, Henry VIII kind of sucked at spending money, but, you know. So that is our man, Thomas Wolsey. He did not commit suicide.
So how long did he live for? Do we know how old he was? Or
Yeah, he was born in 1473 and he died in 1530. So he was about
his 50s.
50, 57. I mean,
Not as old
not
as
a bad age.
Not as old as I thought he was. He died at.
Actually, I thought he died younger.
Really? Because like I figured he was like well into his 60s by the time he passed away, just because he served 2 kings in his lifetime.
Yeah.
The fact that he survived 2 kings in his lifetime. Barely.
Yeah. I mean, he only worked with Henry VII for like 2 years, so.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought it was longer.
Yeah, so. Any other questions?
Did he have much real, I don't know, influence interactions with Henry VIII before he became king? Or is it just like, hey, I've known you for a couple of years?
From everything I understand about how Henry VIII was raised after his brother died. He was kept really close to his father, and they might not have had that great of a relationship. So
Tell me about it.
He may have had interactions with Wolsey, but I don't think he took any part in governing. So, I mean, he didn't even when he was king. So
yeah, that's what I was kind of curious. Since you're talking about how he had a lot of at least control because at the beginning of Henry VIII's rule.
Yeah. I think Henry kept a couple of the counselors, and then he kind of filled it with people he liked. He executed 2 of the people from Henry VII's reign. Start and end with a bang.
Say. Learn it early.
Right. So this was a super short episode, and Gare, I was researching it, and I was like, dang, like, he wasn't boring. He was interesting, but like compared to the lives of the other people we've spoken about,
it's kind of impressive.
I was like,
that
huh.
he didn't do that. Like he's done so much, but it's nothing like super. Like
yeah,
nothing fascinating.
He died even like before all the mayhem.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I had a question. Was he? What did the people think of him when he was kind of like temporarily ruling?
To say, yeah, did he have much of? Was the public pretty vocal about him, or did they not really care?
Because you weren't really vocal about your government back then.
Well, I mean,
people didn't stand in front of Trump Tower and protest. You know, they were just like, okay, this is
just the
divine
way.
right,
Yeah.
and they may not like the later on they didn't like the way the government was run, and they didn't like some people like in the Pilgrimage of the Grace they demanded Cromwell get turned away because he was also a commoner.
So Wolsey really stayed much more involved after Henry had separated from the church, or did he kind of?
I'm sorry, what?
When Henry initially separated from the church, did Wolsey have much other like? Did he really do anything else with? Did he stay around, or did he just like, well, I can't do anything if it's not
for the church?
Yeah,
he tried to do some stuff for the church, but it never. There was a whole section about his failures in the church. Like he basically just kept it going. He tried to get reforms going, but but it didn't really end up working. Yeah, he was just kind of like. For some reason, I thought he was more involved in it than he was, but...
Okay. I was just always kind of curious about, like, how involved he stayed in since he couldn't sanction, a divorce for Henry initially.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have that kind of power, and the Pope tried giving him that kind of power, but Catherine kind of was like, nah, son.
Okay.
I'm going to make sure that's not going to happen.
Cool.
All right.
So anyway...
All right, well, thank you for that episode, Emily.
Super short, but oh well. It's still informative. Be
That's
happy.
Fine. Not all episodes are going to be super long, so that works. Sorry, this is our short episode after we had our break.
It's okay. They'll forgive us. They love us.
Hey, we're recuperating, all right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Emily, how can our lovely listeners find us and spread the word about us, the good word?
Find us on Twitter at Tudor Know Her or on Facebook at Tudor I Hardly Know Her. I was not super active in the last week or so, but that is now I'm done with my break and we're going to get back at it. So we share fun Tudor facts and all that stuff. So find us there, and then don't forget to rate and review us
on iTunes. All right.
Yes.
So until next time, do we know what we're doing, or are we keeping
Not
that
a clue.
close to our chests?
It'll be a surprise
to everybody.
All right. So, until next time.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
Divorce.
Divorce beheaded died.
Divorce beheaded
survived.
survived. Goodbye.
Goodbye.